I failed spectacularly. 2 businesses gone. A music festival where the stage literally collapsed and no one showed up. But you know what? People still talk about that festival decades later. And here's the mad thing. Those failures brought me closer to God, not further away. What if I told you that failure might actually be holy? I failed a lot. I failed as a teenager, sports, relationships, exams. I failed as an adult. I failed to be the man that I should be sometimes. 2 failed businesses, that music festival disaster. I learned a lot from my failures, and some of them brought me closer to God. But here's the thing, if you're anything like me, you've been sold this lie that Christianity is about getting it right. Don't sin, don't doubt, don't fail. Be the good Christian who has their life sorted. And when you inevitably cock it up because you're human, you feel like you've let God down, you've let your family down, maybe even disqualified yourself entirely. I see it in some of the lads I grew up with, afraid to even darken the door of a church because they think they failed too many times. I see it in myself when I look at those 2 failed businesses and wonder if I'm just not cut out for this whole trusting God thing. But Jesus told this story that completely flips this on its head, right? 2 sons, right? Dad asks them both to work in the vineyard. The first son says, yeah, no bother, Dad. I'll head out there now. But he actually never shows up. Classic people pleaser, right? He says the right thing, but he never follows through. The second son, pure honest. No, Dad. Not happening. Straight refusal. It looks like a complete failure, doesn't it? But then something shifts in that guy. He changes his mind and heads out and does the work. And Jesus, this is the mad bit, Jesus says it's the second son who actually did what the father asked. The one who looked like a failure at first, who said no, who didn't get it right the first time. That music festival I mentioned, complete disaster by any measure. But it taught me more about community, about resilience, about God's sense of humor than any success ever could. The stage collapsed, but we kept the music going anyway. That's when I realized God doesn't want my successes. He needs my faithfulness. And you see, the psychology of this turnaround is powerful. When your identity isn't tied up with your achievements, failure loses its grip on you. You're not a failed businessman, talking about myself, who happens to be Christian. You're a beloved child of God who tried some businesses that didn't work out. Completely different feeling, isn't it? Where this comes into its own is, think about the secular world. In the secular world, it tells you, you are what you achieve. Christianity says, you are loved before you do anything at all. And that's not just theology, that's psychological freedom. But here's what that shiny version of Christianity doesn't tell you. Faith doesn't prevent failure. Sometimes it guarantees it. Sometimes God calls you to do the things that look like disasters to everyone else. Sometimes the obedient thing is the thing that fails spectacularly, because God's more interested in your character than in your comfort, more interested in your faithfulness than in your success rate. I think about all the times I said no to God through fear, through pride, through stubbornness. If Christianity was about getting it right the first time, I'd have been disqualified years ago. But grace says your first answer doesn't have to be your final answer. So how do you actually live this out? 3 things have helped me. First, change your questions. Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what if this failure is exactly what God wants to use? The second, find your people. This is important. Not the ones who need you to have it all sorted out. The ones who will sit with you in the wreckage and help you see what God is building. Now third, remember, you're in a redemption story, not a performance review. Every biblical hero has a chapter that looks like complete failure. Moses killed a man. David committed adultery and then killed a man. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. But God's not writing them off. He's writing them in. That story about Peter, I've got another video about it. You should check it out. And one about David actually as well, coming out soon. Now, if this is hitting you where you live, you're not alone. There's a whole community of us figuring out what it means to follow Jesus without the performance pressure. Hit that like button if you needed to hear this today. It helps others who are struggling with the same fears to find this message on YouTube. Subscribe if you want more of these honest conversations about faith and sometimes about failure. And if you want to support my work, I've got a Patreon in the link down below. No pressure, but if you can, every bit helps. Remember, God doesn't need you to get it right the first time. You just need to keep showing up. Your failure might be exactly the holy ground that you're standing on. My name's Jacob, and this might be church.